Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, we start by honoring the Americans who died during their service in World War I. Next, did you know that Kansas is the 3rd or 4th ranked pheasant hunting state in the nation, and that the best indicator of a good pheasant season is a good wheat crop? Then enjoy a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a funny look at politics. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road. Good morning, I'm Frank.
I'm still Deb.
And this is still Around Kansas. Hi, how are you this morning?
So Election Day doesn't change everything, does it?
No.
We survive, we go on. Whether we're happy or not, we go on. So, the great thing about our bureaucracy in America, because there's so much wrong with bureaucracy, but the great thing about it is it makes the government slow to change. And that's part of what keeps us stable. What little stability we've got left, this is part of the reason why, is because things can't be changed overnight. And, folks, when you wake up this morning after the day after Election Day, just remember that. That's something you can be grateful for, no matter who's elected. They only have so much power, and they can't change things overnight. It's a gradual process, and America's all about the process. Mm-hmm. So, reason to be hopeful, whether you're thrilled with the outcome of the election or not, there's always something to look forward to.
Yep. So,
it's like the next election.
November already.
I can't believe it.
I know, it seemed like it was just first Friday in October, and now it's going to be first Friday in November, and that's going to be Veterans Day. That's going to be Thanksgiving, and then Christmas.
Boom, boom, boom. The year's gone. The year's gone. That's right.
It'll be spring before we know it.
Yeah. I know. That's right. Spring before we know it. Before the first snowflake flies, it's going to be spring.
It'll be spring.
So much going on this week, of course, because Veterans Day is Friday. And I wanted to point this out. I love reading the local papers. If you've got a local paper you want to send us, I love reading them. And the Holton Recorder from up in Holton has been running a series. This is absolutely excellent on Purple Heart recipients. And it's just a wonderful series. And the names of these people will go on a monument in the park there in Holton. But I think you can go to their website. Maybe there's a way that you can read all of these. If not, let us know and we'll figure it out, because it's just a tremendous series. Also, in honor of Veterans Day on Friday, our good friend Jerry Thomas, renowned artist, just an amazing man and a good friend of ours, will be at the State House on Friday making a big announcement about an art commission he has. He was commissioned to do pieces of art of 4 Medal of Honor recipients. And so that's going to be a huge, huge deal. And I lobbied for some of my favorite people in the 4 that were chosen, but I think we get to find out Friday who that'll be, and we'll follow up on the show with it.
Very good.
I know. Okay, and I just got back from Hollywood.
Ooh.
No kidding. I got to go to Hollywood, and this was a great time. And another Veterans Connection, I was pitching a book idea, or movie idea from a book about a Korean War soldier. Really, really fascinating. So I think we're going to follow up in the next few weeks with a segment about the man who wrote this book and how I got to go to Hollywood and pitch the idea. But yeah. You can't make this stuff up, Frank. My life, you can't make up my life.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
I need my own reality show.
Yeah.
Surreal. The surreal life. Stay with us.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Lecompton. The name was splashed across newspapers throughout America and Europe. It was debated in the halls of Congress. Lecompton interprets its unique territorial history with 2 museums and other sites. Events throughout the year celebrate history and community. Visit the Territorial Capitol Museum, where more than 70 trees are displayed with thousands of antique and vintage ornaments, and be sure to stop in the gift shops in both Lecompton museums. Spend the day in historic Lecompton, shopping, eating, savoring the rich history.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Aren't you happy? Here we are again. So, anyway, Veterans Day is coming up, and there are a lot of veterans activities, and I know you've got one that you need to kind of tell us about.
Well, my dear friend Jeannie Mithen marks the graves of the World War I dead at historic Topeka Cemetery. And so those markers, their bios of these men and one woman, are actually going up today. And I believe they'll be on display through the 21st. So we're going to take a look at some of these that break your heart. They just break your heart. But these are actually people who died during service, some from the flu, some from combat, and other situations. But it's just heartbreaking, but it's so important while we're in the 100th anniversary of World War I, especially relevant these days, it seems, the situation around the world. So this is a really important one, and hope you can get out to historic Topeka Cemetery and take a look.
That's, if you don't know for sure, that's at 10th in California.
Right. I-70 in California, 10th in California, right there. During the 100th anniversary of the Great War, volunteer Jeannie Mithen has been honoring Topekans who died during their service by posting their photos and a short biography at their grave sites in historic Topeka Cemetery. Most of these young men and one woman were not combat casualties, but as in most wars, sickness was the greatest enemy. It is proper that we take the time to recall them and their sacrifice. Most were first buried in France and later returned to America. Some, like Henry Walsh, were never returned, and a memorial bears his name. Also, Philip Billard was a test pilot, and when he died in a plane crash, his family buried his ashes in his grandmother's garden in France. John Oscar Ackerstrom died in 1918 from wounds sustained in one of the final Battle of the Meuse-Argonne Offensive, just a dozen hours before the armistice. Floyd Webster Bailey, born in Agra, Kansas, died in training in September of 1918 of complications from the Spanish influenza and resulting pneumonia at Camp Grant, Rockford, Illinois. Seaman Kenneth Lind Barber, Foster Raymond Bradfield, William Henry Cumickle, Ralph Raymond Doige, Robert Thomas Melton, and Virgil Eaton died during training of complications from the Spanish influenza. Frederick Joseph also died from Spanish influenza and rests in the Jewish section without a headstone. Medical corpsman Harold Rosen Olson died from cerebral spinal meningitis in France, and Frank Asbury Pavey died of TB and measles at Camp Funston. Lyman Rice died from dysentery and pneumonia. Charles Erickson died from pneumonia and shrapnel poison sustained during the Meuse-Argonne Offensive. Leroy Evans was killed in action on August 31st, 1918. Ari Ernest Fager died from wounds as a result of machine gun fire in November 1918 at a base hospital near the town of Barracourt, France. William Klinge died of pneumonia while training in Texas, January 1919. Ernest Fred Moneypenny was accidentally shot in France. Faye Sarah Friedberg died from disease on December 30, 1918 of complications from the Spanish influenza and resulting pneumonia in Washington, D.C., while she was working with the Casualty Division of the Adjutant General's Office in the War Department. On the Shawnee County Victory Highway Memorial, Faye is recorded as the only Shawnee County woman member of the Department of War to have died in the Great War in the service of the United States. She is buried in the Jewish section of the historic Topeka Cemetery. Jesse Gilliland died in October 1918 after being gassed and wounded during the opening stages of the Meuse-Argonne offensive. Fred Lloyd Jones died in August 1919 from pneumonia contracted on board ship during his return from his participation in the AEF offensives of the Western Front in France. Theodore Leslie McNeely was killed in action on September 16, 1918, in a direct hit from a shell on the front line of the most advanced and exposed position being held by the 353rd Infantry during the St. Mihiel offensive. Kenneth Sutherland was killed in action 17 July 1918 in the Alsace, France. William Swan died from wounds sustained in the Meuse-Argonne offensive in October 1918. Albert Thompson Jr. died during training in San Antonio in July 1919 of cancer. He had already served one tour of duty in Europe. As we mark Veterans Day, November 11, let us recall their sacrifices and those of their families and the millions who died around the world in those dark years a century ago.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley.
If you're searching for bulls that offer genetic flexibility, then come to the Dale Banks Angus Bull Sale, Saturday, November 19th, near Eureka, Kansas. Selling 140 bulls that have spent their lives in rough Flint Hills pastures. For 112 years, the Perriers have been focused on providing hard-working, balanced trait bulls for progressive cattlemen nationwide. Make plans to join us on November 19th or bid online at liveauctions.tv. Call the Perriers at 620-583-4305 or dalebanks.com.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. And here we are again. This is Around Kansas, by the way, if you just tuned in. I'm Frank, she's Deb. And
where have you been?
So, we were just kind of chatting. Kansas has a population of around 3 million people, but there is a time of the year when 100,000 people kind of pour into the state, and that's going to be our next story, and they pheasant hunt.
Isn't that amazing? I was blown away when I saw that story you're about to do, Frank. I was just blown away. Even though I know, living in Oakley, number one, there are pheasants in the yard, and I have never lived around pheasants. I mean, I've seen them, of course, but I've never lived with them. And they cluck like chickens almost. You can hear them out in the fields or around the yard clucking. And there are a couple, don't come shooting in my yard, but there are a couple, I swear, Frank, I don't know how they get off the ground. They are in our yard, they're this fat.
Yeah.
And there's been babies, all season, all year long out in the middle of the road. And they're just,
Well, and also as a motorcycle rider, the thing is pheasants are a hazard out on those back roads, because all of a sudden you see something out of the corner of your eye and you go, oh, don't hit my windshield, please.
That's just like the road runner. Just,
yeah,
just zipping across there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're big enough to, it's not like a hummingbird hitting the windshield, is it?
No, it's not. They can knock you over. So.
Well, pheasant season, I think, started for youth a few days ago, and for the adults starts this weekend, so it's a timely story.
Yeah. Considering we are the third or fourth-ranked pheasant hunting state in the nation, it may seem strange that the colorful bird is not native to Kansas. Perhaps the most popular game bird according to Wildlife and Parks, the ring-necked pheasant was introduced in 1906. 3,000 birds were let go in 84 counties, and what a spectacle that must have been. One little boy, upon seeing his first pheasant in the wild, ran home to tell his mother he had seen a baby dragon. Pheasants quickly adapted, and the first hunting season was opened in 1917. Pheasant season was inconsistent until 1982. The species are so entrenched that annual harvests range from more than 400,000 to more than 800,000. Hunting is big business in Kansas, and pheasant season draws anywhere from 110,000 to 150,000 hunters annually. Only the males are harvested, ensuring the population will remain strong. Wildlife and Parks monitors pheasant populations through 4 different surveys at various times of the year. Even rural mail carriers are asked to share their observations of the birds, and hunters themselves provide invaluable feedback. Each of these surveys provides range-wide and regional indices to annual change and long-term trends. But the best indicator for a good pheasant season is a good wheat crop.
Clyde Sutton, Nest City, Kansas. Lived on this place all my life. About a year and a half ago, got to where I couldn't saddle a horse. The pain was terrible. Read about stem cell. First it wasn't for me, then they started doing neck and back. Before I went down to Manhattan, the pain I was having from my neck down to my hand was curling my hand back. Some people had thought I almost had a stroke, and my shoulder had drawed up. I couldn't lift, I couldn't sleep, I really couldn't do anything, and was scheduled to be operated on, but was scared of the knife, I guess. Went and had it done. As you can see, I saddled a horse. I'm still building fence. Love to shoot a shotgun rifle, and I'm able to participate, not like I used to, but nevertheless I can do the things I used to do. And I want to personally thank the doctors, nurses, staff at Kansas Regenerative Medicine for the opportunity they give me to have my life back again.
Fort Wallace stood on the frontier in the midst of the Plains Indians Wars on a major stage route and rail line. Beside the 1865 stagecoach station, a modern museum with thousands of artifacts tell that story, like the fossil of a 40-foot plesiosaur is suspended from the ceiling. Located on Highway 40 midway between Hayes and Colorado Springs, the Fort Wallace Museum is as welcome a sight today as the fort itself in the 1860s. Discover the fightingest sport in the West. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
One of the joys we have is a good ranch dog, but those ranch dogs sometimes get into misadventures. This poem is entitled Lost and Found. I have a good dog. His name is Jake. Australian Shepherd is his make. He roams around our ranch with pride and goes with me when I walk or ride. One day he went with me to chore, as he's done hundreds of times before. I went to the granary to get some feed and proceeded with my usual deeds. That night I put dog food in Jake's bowl, but I didn't see a single soul. I wasn't worried about where he went. He was probably at Grandma's or chasing some scent. But the next day I didn't see Jake at all, and he didn't come when I yelled or called. By the third day I was really worried. Around to all the neighbors we hurried. We called the shelter, put posts all around, but the results were the same. No Jake had been found. With a heavy heart, I went to chore when I heard a scratching inside the granary side door. I found Jake in the corner bin, where, unbeknownst to me, that silly dog jumped in. Jake and I had a joyful reunion and rejoined the family in happy communion. I've got to tell the neighbors, but it'll be kind of hard, because the dog I was looking for was in my own backyard. Happy trails.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop liquid crop nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just chuckling because, we just got through with an election not that long ago. And then you think, what's funny about politics? But there's, we've had a lot of great sayings and characters.
What's not tragic is funny. You've got to laugh to keep from crying a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Even though we both have good friends among the Kansas legislature who are not crazy, but, it's like you get them under the dome and something happens, doesn't it, Frank?
Yeah.
It's just...
It's like wearing a little hat made out of tinfoil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, the dome's copper, so maybe they put tinfoil in it. I don't know.
Maybe. Could go back to that alien thing. We were talking about the abduction thing. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
Could be.
Could be a landing thing up there. I don't know. A portal. Yeah. There we go. That's how urban legends get started, isn't it? Well, let's take a look at some of the more pithy and not so, actually, they're sort of pessimistic comments for the most part about politics. There's an old joke about the oldest profession being prostitution. The punchline is that politics is the oldest profession because who do you think created the chaos from which God formed the world? Kansas has a long tradition of political participation. People move to Kansas to vote, a unique story among the states. We have always enjoyed a higher than average voter turnout and have had a disproportionately high number of national candidates like Alf Landon and Bob Dole. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, arguably among our most historically significant leaders, said the proudest thing he could say was that he was from Kansas. So, let us Kansans reflect upon politics, not just this year's election, but the nature of politics, unchanged since the beginning of time. John Kenneth Galbraith no doubt expressed the opinion of many folks when he commented, "Politics is the art of choosing between the disastrous and the unpalatable." And another timely quote comes from Gore Vidal. By the time a man gets to be presidential material, he's been bought 10 times over. And even more depressing from Aesop. We hang the petty thieves and appoint the great ones to public office. Will Rogers has been the go-to pundit for decades, and he never disappoints. "I don't make jokes, I just watch the government and report the facts," he said. He also came up with this little gem: a fool and his money are soon elected. Likewise, Mark Twain. Suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress. But I repeat myself. I have always been a fan of Ambrose Bierce and the Devil's Dictionary, which contains the following. Conservative, noun, a statesman who is enamored of existing evils, as distinguished from the liberal who wishes to replace them with others. President Lyndon Baines Johnson had a reputation for plain speech, and he could not have said it plainer. Being president is like being a jackass in a hailstorm. There's nothing to do but stand there and take it. The UK's Maggie Thatcher expressed my personal sentiments best when she said, "I am extraordinarily patient, provided I get my own way in the end." Ken Hubbard said, "We would all like to vote for the best man or woman, but he or she is never a candidate." Whatever your feelings about the presidential election of 2016, remember, we're all in this together. And let us remember the limits of power in that high office. In the immortal words of our Kansas neighbor, President Harry Truman, all the president is a glorified public relations man who spends his time flattering, kissing, and kicking people to get them to do what they are supposed to do anyway.
Well, we have to go. I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And we'll see you somewhere
Around Kansas.
Welcome to Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of Dorothy's dream.